My stepdaughter complained that I stopped supporting her right after she told her friends I was just some guy. Her friends ended up giving her rides. My name is Tom. I'm 43, and I live just outside Sacramento in a house that smells like cedar and chlorine, depending on the time of year. Freight logistics is my trade. Long days of trucks, shipping manifests, and answering problems other people create. It's not glamorous, but it pays well. Well enough to buy a house. Well enough to build a family. Or so I thought. I married Hannah 7 years ago. She was soft-spoken, always with a way of tilting her head when she listened that made you feel like the only man in the room. She had 2 daughters from a previous marriage, Molly and Casey, 13 and 11 when we met. Their father was a seasonal ghost. Showed up around Christmas with big smiles and boxes he didn't wrap himself. Laughed loud. Promised everything. Then vanished again. Nevada, I think. I never kept close track. When Hannah and I decided to buy this house, there wasn't even a conversation about money. I paid the down payment. All of it. Every cent. I handled the mortgage, the property taxes, the insurance. She handled decor, paint swatches, and telling me which landscaping company to use. I never minded. I wanted her to feel like it was ours. I never said, my house. I said home. Thought that would be enough. I remember the day we added the pool. It was July. One of those California days where even the shadows feel hot. Molly had said, wouldn't it be cool if we had a pool? And Casey lit up like it was Christmas. Hannah looked at me, hesitant, and I just nodded. Called the contractor the next morning. They swam every day that summer. I barbecued, played lifeguard, and cleaned every single leaf that hit that water. I told myself this is what it means to step in. To be a real father. Quiet, constant, unthanked. In those early years, Molly called me Dad. Just like that. No ceremony. I'd hand her a towel, and she'd say, thanks, Dad. And something in me would swell, not pride exactly. Something deeper. Something you don't name because naming it might make it fragile. Casey would leave me drawings on my nightstand. Crayon cards. #OneDad. Stick figures with smiles too big for their faces. I kept every single one in a shoebox under my bed. That box is still there, heavier now than it was then. But then the tides shifted. Teenage years are supposed to come with attitude, sure. But this felt colder. Sharper. Molly started staying in her room more. Earbuds always in. Her laughter didn't reach downstairs anymore. She got a boyfriend. Some kid named Tyler with a car that rattled and a mouth too quick. I wasn't allowed to meet him. She said it would be awkward. I asked her to be home by 10 one night and she scoffed. You're not my real dad, she muttered as she walked away. I told myself I didn't hear it. The real fracture came quietly. I was walking past her door one night, not eavesdropping, just on my way to the laundry room. I heard her on FaceTime with a friend. Her voice was relaxed, the kind she never used with me anymore. Yeah, he's just some guy. Mom's husband. He acts like he runs the place, but it's not even his. Like, calm down, dude. Her friend laughed. So did she. I stood there a moment too long, laundry basket resting against my hip, staring at the wood grain of her door. Something inside me, something I didn't know had been fragile, bent in the middle. Didn't snap, just bent, like wet wood in winter. I didn't confront her. What would be the point? I was just some guy. 2 days later, she asked me for gas money. Said she needed it to get to school. I told her she might have to ask one of her friends for a ride. She rolled her eyes and muttered something under her breath. Hannah asked me why I was being tight with the girls lately. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. Casey was still polite, still a little warmer, but I saw her shifting too. She'd stopped making cards, stopped asking me to help with her homework. Her real dad had taken her for dinner the week before and posted a picture of them smiling, laughing at a diner. The caption said, "Father-daughter time. Nothing like it." 36 likes. I asked Hannah how the dinner went. She shrugged. "He's trying to make an effort," she said. I wanted to ask, where was that effort when Casey needed braces? When Molly needed a laptop for school? When their phones broke and I paid for new ones without a word? But I didn't. I never do. The moment you list the things you've done, you turn love into debt. Still, things chipped away. It started with little things. Molly wouldn't say thank you anymore. Not for dinners, not for rides, not for the times I fixed her car battery in the rain. She'd leave dishes in the sink, and when I asked her to clean them, she'd blink like I was speaking a foreign language. Casey stopped coming down for breakfast. Used to be we'd talk in the mornings, half-awake banter, jokes about school. That faded. Now she'd grab a protein bar and disappear before I could say good morning. But the real shift, the moment that lodged like a thorn in my chest, came one evening when I was reviewing some invoices in the dining room. Hannah was scrolling on her tablet. Casey was watching something on her phone, volume too loud. I asked her politely to turn it down. Before she could answer, Molly, who had just walked in, snapped, "You don't get to tell us what to do. You're not the owner here. Who made you the boss?" She said it with a smirk, like it was funny. Hannah didn't say anything. She didn't laugh. She didn't agree. But she didn't defend me either. Just kept scrolling, like nothing had been said. That moment, her silence, said more than any insult ever could. I looked at her, searching for something. A glance, a frown, a line drawn, but she gave me nothing. Not even discomfort, just quiet complicity. And that's when I knew. I wasn't part of this family. Not really. I was the maintenance man, the wallet, the guy who knew the Wi-Fi password and could fix the garbage disposal. The one who showed up, paid up, shut up. I went to the garage that night, sat in the dark with the door half open, staring out at the pool I paid for, the backyard I landscaped, the home I kept running. The laughter from inside drifted out, light and effortless. None of it felt like it belonged to me anymore. The shoebox was still under the bed, full of crayon hearts and stick figure smiles. But upstairs, they laughed at the idea that I was even part of this. That night, I made a silent decision. I didn't speak it aloud, didn't announce anything, but something settled in me, like dust after a long fall. I knew then, if I was going to be treated like I didn't belong, maybe it was time I stopped pretending I did. It was a Tuesday when the floor finally gave out beneath me. Nothing dramatic. Just a living room left in disarray and a command that floated into open air and came back hollow. Casey had left the place a mess again. Shoes in the hallway, crumbs on the cushions, soda rings on the coffee table. I asked her to clean it up. Calm, direct, no anger in my voice. She didn't even look at me, just kept scrolling on her phone like I wasn't speaking English. That would have been enough, honestly. Just the silent dismissal. But Molly was there too, half watching, half smirking from the stairs, and she made sure her words landed with a sharpened edge. "You're not even the owner here. Who made you the boss?" It wasn't said with heat. It was worse than that. It was casual, like it had been rehearsed, agreed upon, maybe even whispered upstairs between the sisters before they came down. A shared belief spoken plainly. And Hannah, my wife, she didn't flinch. She didn't rush to correct them. Didn't say, "Hey, don't talk to him like that." Didn't defend me at all. Just sat there, watching something on her tablet, pretending not to hear the thing that gutted me like a fish. I turned toward her. Waited. Nothing. That was the moment I felt something snap. It wasn't loud. Not like a shout or a slammed door. It was internal. A thread that pulled too tight for too long, finally letting go. I looked at Molly, then at Casey, then at Hannah, and I said nothing. I walked into the kitchen, poured a glass of water with shaking hands, drank it like it might wash the betrayal down. That night, I lay awake in the bed I paid for, under the roof I financed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow circles over my head. They thought I didn't belong. They were just saying it out loud now. The next morning, I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. I didn't even sound angry. I just looked at Hannah across the breakfast table and said, "If your daughters think I don't belong here, maybe they'd prefer staying with someone they think does." She blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, "I think they should go live with their real dad for a while." "You're serious?" "I've never been more." "You can't just." "I can." She stared at me like she was seeing a new person. Maybe she was. Or maybe she was finally seeing who I had always been. The man holding the weight of this house alone, tired of being told he's a guest in his own kingdom. The girls didn't believe me at first. They rolled their eyes. Molly laughed and said, "Okay, yeah, sure." But I wasn't bluffing. That evening I brought them boxes, told them they had 3 days. I'd even drive. On the third day I helped pack. They stuffed things into suitcases like it was a sleepover. Still smirking, still convinced I was just making some kind of point. But I loaded the car. I closed the trunk. And I drove. Hannah didn't come. She stayed home. Said she couldn't handle the drama. Maybe she thought I'd cave if she stayed behind, if I had to face it alone. But I didn't. I drove across town. Every stoplight another confirmation that I wasn't bluffing. Their father opened the door shirtless, bleary-eyed, boxers and a cigarette in hand. The apartment behind him was cramped. Peeling linoleum, stained carpet, one sagging couch. I handed him the girls' bags. He blinked. "What's this?" "Your daughters," I said. "They wanted their real dad. I'm just making that easier." Molly's face went pale. Casey opened her mouth like she might argue. But I didn't give them space to. "Your father," I said, nodding toward the man in the doorway. "He can tell you to clean the living room now. He can decide who owns what." I'm stepping back. The drive home was silent. Not peaceful. Just silent. Like the echo after a bomb goes off, when your ears still ring and you're not sure what's still standing. That night, Hannah didn't say much. She moved around the kitchen like the floor might crack under her feet. I sat at the table, opened my laptop, checked my accounts. The tuition fund I had set up for Molly? Frozen. Casey's phone bill? Transferred to her father's name. If I was just some guy, then let him handle the responsibilities. Let him feel what a real dad feels when the bills start crawling in. The next day, silence. Then the messages started. First from Hannah. She asked if I was going to reverse anything. Said it was just teenage hormones. That I was overreacting. I didn't reply. That word, overreacting, felt like a slap. Then came the texts from Molly. "Hey, can we talk? I think maybe I overstepped. It's *CKs here." Casey sent me a photo. An old Father's Day card she had made when she was 10, construction paper and glitter glue. Underneath, just one sentence. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean it." I stared at it for a long time. Didn't reply right away. Hannah came into the room later that night. No phone, no defenses. Just eyes a little red. "You were right," she said. "I didn't do it to be right," I told her. "I did it because I was tired of pretending I belonged when none of you ever made room for me." She nodded. Sat down. Didn't say much more. Just sat there with me while the air between us tried to settle. 3 days later, we met at a diner. Me, Hannah, and the girls. No shouting. No accusations. Just tired faces and too much unsaid. They ordered milkshakes like they were still little. I didn't smile. I didn't reach across the table. I told them what I felt. Clear, plain. "You made me feel like I was trespassing in a house I built. Like I was a stranger sleeping in my own bed. If I'm not your dad, fine. But then don't come to me when the gas tank's empty or the tuition payment bounces." They nodded. Eyes down. No smirks this time. Molly whispered, "I didn't think you'd really, you know." "I know you didn't," I said. "That's the problem. You all thought I'd just keep paying, keep fixing, keep absorbing your silence like a sponge." We sat in that booth for over an hour. Milkshakes melting. French fries untouched. When we left, I didn't say, "Welcome home." I didn't say anything at all. They climbed into my car quietly, like passengers, not daughters. And I drove us back to a house that would no longer treat me like a ghost. The house felt heavier when they came back. Not with noise, not with footsteps, but with caution. They walked softer, spoke quieter, like they were guests in a museum. I didn't tell them to be that way. I just didn't fill the silence anymore. The first few days passed without incident. Molly cleaned her dishes. Casey didn't leave crumbs on the couch. Hannah tried to act like we were a family again. She cooked lasagna, lit candles, Played music on her phone like we used to, but every note felt off-key. Too careful. Too rehearsed. Like she was trying to cover something cracked with a fresh coat of paint. I didn't trust it. Then came the text from Molly. Short. Blunt. My friends don't want to drive me anymore. Can I get gas money again? I stared at the message. Didn't answer. Later that night, Hannah approached, phone in hand. She's asking for a little help, just until she gets back on her feet. It's not like she's asking for much. I looked up from my laptop. She told me I'm not her dad. She apologized. She sent a text. Hannah exhaled through her nose. Tom. No, I said. Calm. Final. That weekend, Casey came downstairs with a pile of laundry. Our washer's busted. Use the laundromat, I said. She blinked. I don't have quarters. Ask your father. Her mouth opened, but she closed it again. Took the basket and left. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't slam the door either. Just left it swinging behind her. Like she didn't know which world she belonged to anymore. That night, Hannah sat beside me on the couch. We watched TV in silence. Some cooking competition. Flames on the screen. Dead-eyed contestants. Nothing about it felt real. They're trying, she said after a long time. They're just kids. They're not, I said. They're teenagers. Nearly adults. Old enough to say what they mean. Old enough to decide who matters. They decided. I'm just living with it. She didn't argue. Just reached for my hand. I let her hold it. But I didn't squeeze back. Molly tried again 2 days later. Knocked on my office door. Something she hadn't done in years. Held out a small envelope. I made this when I was 11, she said. For Father's Day. I found it in my closet. I took it. A folded card. On the front, a drawing of a man with short hair, a tie holding a grill spatula. Inside, thank you for being the best dad, even if you didn't have to be. I read it once, then again, then looked up at her. Do you mean this now? She hesitated. I did then. That's not what I asked. She looked down. I don't know. I guess I thought you'd always be there. I was. She didn't reply. After a long silence, I handed the card back. I'm not your ATM, Molly. I'm not your Uber driver. I'm not your fallback plan. I'm a man who built a home for you, and you spit on it. I said I was sorry. You said I wasn't your dad. She looked like she might cry. I didn't move. You want gas money? I said. You earn it. Respect isn't something you apologize for after the damage is done. It's something you show when you think no one's watching. She left the room. Quietly. No slamming. Just gone. Casey tried a different tactic. She started helping around the house. Did the dishes. Took out the trash. Even vacuumed. One night she made dinner. Pasta with Jared sauce and burned garlic bread. Left a sticky note on the table. Thanks for everything. I mean it. I ate the food. Left the note in place. But I didn't reward it. I wasn't playing their game anymore. This wasn't about chores. It wasn't about money. It was about worth. About being seen. About no longer being the man they only acknowledged when something broke or something cost too much. Hannah asked me why I was being so cold. Because I've been generous for years, I told her. And all it got me was rolled eyes and silence. I'm done being the easy option. She cried that night. In bed, with the light off, she turned her back to me. I could feel it in the way the mattress didn't move, the refusal to reach, the absence of comfort. I didn't turn toward her. The next morning, she said something that stuck. You're pushing them away for good. And I answered, they pushed first. The girls began to see it. Slowly. That I wasn't caving. That I wasn't playing the role anymore. I was still in the house. Still fixing the sink. Still mowing the lawn. But something in me had turned to stone. Molly's grades dropped. She missed a test because her ride bailed. Casey came home early from her dad's. Said it was too loud to sleep, too cold to think. Neither of them asked to move back in full-time. They just started staying over more. Quietly, like refugees. I didn't stop them, but I didn't greet them either. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. I had given my love freely for years. Love with no contract, no expectations, just the hope that presence would equal value. But they made their choice. They reminded me again and again that biology mattered more than sacrifice. That blood trumped action. That loud, empty men with grins and Christmas gifts were fathers. And I was just some guy. So now I let their father handle what he can't. Casey's birthday came. No balloons. No party. Just a card from her dad and a $20 bill folded inside. She came home that night with a blank face. Didn't mention it. Didn't ask for more. Molly needed help with her FAFSA. I told her she could figure it out, just like I had to. Hannah pulled me aside. Said I was letting bitterness ruin what we had rebuilt. I looked her dead in the eye. We didn't rebuild anything. They moved back in. That's not the same as coming home. She opened her mouth, closed it, walked away. And in that silence, I finally understood the weight I had carried all these years, and the truth that came with setting it down. It was a Tuesday again. It always is, somehow, the middle of the week when nothing should happen, and yet everything always does. Casey was sitting on the couch, feet tucked under her, scrolling silently. Molly stood by the fridge, reading the same grocery list 3 times like it might change. Hannah was upstairs folding laundry, the quiet of the house broken only by the hum of the dryer. I stepped into the room and told them we were going to talk. No one moved. "I'm not asking," I said. My voice wasn't raised. It didn't need to be. We sat at the kitchen table. The same one I'd paid for. The same one they once spilled juice on without apology. The same one I ate cold dinners at when no one else came down. I looked at them, Hannah too, who came down reluctantly, still holding a pair of folded jeans, and I said the thing I'd kept buried for too long. This isn't working anymore. Not unless we reset everything. Molly folded her arms. Casey stared at the table. Hannah didn't say a word. "I'm not your ATM," I said. "I'm not your handyman. I'm not your scapegoat when things feel unfair. I'm someone who chose to be in your lives. I wasn't forced. I didn't stumble into this. I chose it. And all I ever asked was for basic respect." No one interrupted. Not like before. Not like when they used to laugh when I got serious. "I paid for the house you live in, the car you learned to drive in, the clothes you wear, the Wi-Fi you stream on, the phones you scroll through. I've given without keeping score. And you kept asking without ever looking back." Molly shifted. Her face tightened. "You said I wasn't your dad," I continued. "You called me some guy. You mocked the idea that I could make rules, that I had a say. And now you live here again, quietly, carefully, but still without a word of real acknowledgement." Casey finally looked up. "I said I was sorry." I nodded. "You did. In a text." Hannah stepped in then, gently. "They're trying. So am I," I said. "But trying without change is just noise." The room fell into a stillness so thick I could hear the hum of the fridge motor. "I'm not here to punish you," I said. "But I won't live like a ghost anymore. I won't be the man you tolerate while reaching for someone else. So here's how it's going to work, from now on." They listened. Really listened. "No more free gas money. You need it," you ask respectfully. You explain why. And maybe I say yes. Or maybe I don't. Either way, you say thank you. They nodded. "You want rides?" You schedule them. You don't text me 10 minutes before. And if I say no, that's the end of it. You don't run to your mother. You don't pout. You don't throw my sacrifices back in my face. Still nodding. "You want to live in this house?" You treat it like a home, not a hotel. You clean up. You contribute. You stop waiting for me to do everything just because I always have. They looked at each other. No eye rolls. No smirks. "And one more thing," I said. "You don't get to treat me like furniture. I speak, you listen. I ask something, you don't question whether I've earned the right. I'm not your real dad. I've heard that loud and clear. But I've been here, every day. That has to count for something. If it doesn't, then you're free to leave." Casey's lip trembled. "We don't want to leave." "Then this is the deal," I said. "Not up for debate. Hannah put her hand over mine. First time in weeks. I didn't move away. Later that night, I found a handwritten note on my pillow. Thank you for not giving up on us. I don't deserve another chance, but I want one. M. No apology, just truth. The next morning, Casey asked if she could help with yard work. She lasted 20 minutes before giving up, but she asked. That was new. Molly did her own laundry, didn't ask for help. Also new. Hannah kissed me on the cheek while I made coffee. Whispered, I should have stood up for you. I won't forget again. I didn't reply. I just handed her a mug. Not everything needs words. The changes weren't sudden. Not perfect. But they were real. And more than that, they were earned. I still don't expect to be called Dad. That word belongs to someone who shows up once a year and smiles for pictures. That's fine. Let him have it. What I've built here is something else. Something quieter. Tougher. Forged through disrespect and rebuilt on boundaries. Respect isn't given. It's demanded. It's drawn out, brick by brick, from the ruins of disappointment. And now, in this house, thank you means more than any apology ever could. So I'll ask you, the same way I've asked myself every night since, would you have endured it? Would you have stayed? Or would you have walked away the moment they reminded you, in your own home, that you were always just a backup plan? Because I didn't walk. I made them meet me where I stood. And that, I think, is what real fatherhood looks like, not biology, not titles. But limits. Hard-earned. Long denied. Finally drawn.